वासुदेव ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So very good evening to everybody and welcome to the Lecture of Instruction, Text 2 of the Bhakti Shastri course. So in the last session, we have spoken about the Text 2 and we have covered about the first three, those practices that are detrimental to the cultivation of Bhakti. Yeah. Can you please share the PPT, Shravya? So today we're going to continue from the point of Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Janasangascha and Laulyam. These four we are going to complete today. Okay, so we will just revisit the text once more. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpum niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following activities. Number 1, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. This is atyahara, which we have learned in the last session. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Prayasa. This also we have discussed in the last session. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Prajalpa. This we are going to talk about in great detail today. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. So this is Niyamagraha. This also we're going to discuss today. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, Janasanga, and being greedy for mundane achievements. So this is Laulyam. Okay, so all these four aspects we are going to discuss in detail today. So the first one is Prajalpa. So as such, one has to understand the purpose of the book of Nectar of Instruction. Yeah. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we have established the goal, the sadhya. And Nectar of Instruction as a book establishes the process to attain that goal. Yeah. So it's one thing to know what the goal is, and the next step is to actually attain that goal. Yeah. So it's one thing to see a dream, and the second thing is to actually chase after your dream or really live your dream. Yeah, so we've understood that the loftiest goals that a living entity can attain, which is one's own very constitutional positions, these truths are revealed through the Bhagavad Gita. But in order to attain that goal, one has to systematically practice it. Yeah, bhakti is a matter of cultivation. Yeah, it is a practice. So how it is practiced, it is very scientific. So these details are given in the nectar of instruction. So so it is not, oftentimes bhakti is mistaken to be some kind of a sentimental emotion, yeah, a sentimental feel, just a feel for the Lord. No, bhakti is much deeper, much profound, much practical, and much more scientific, yeah, as it is revealed by the grace of Srila Rupa Goswami through his book, the Upadeshamrita. So the first text spoke about the 6 urges of a practicing devotee needs to control, yeah, in order to make advancement. And the second text speaks about the 6 items or practices which are detrimental to devotional service. Yeah, as we have learned the first 2 in the last session. Today we're going to talk about prajalpa. Yes, so this is a very, very interesting topic. Yeah, because speech is something which we often, every day we speak. Yeah, waking up in the morning, the first thing we do is we take our mobile phone and we start texting. So that's also speech. Yeah. So, or we talk to our friends. Yeah, earlier there used to be long conversations over the phone, yeah, between 2 friends, or between if you're engaged to somebody, especially the talk time is really very long, yeah, or between the wife and husband, or the talks between mother and daughter once the daughter gets married. Yeah, they're endless talks. Yeah. So, and we talk to so many friends, we talk to our neighbors, yeah, we talk to our people around, and oftentimes the speech is, speeches of different types. Yeah, sometimes the speech makes us feel relaxed. Sometimes some speech really hurts us and gets us depressed. Sometimes for some people, speech are like, arrows that pierce through the heart and cause such agony. Speeches of different types and different kinds. So what is prajalpa and why is it detrimental to devotional service? Is all types of prajalpa detrimental to devotional service? So this is what we're going to study today. And I'm very happy to share that whatever I have compiled today is something that I have taken from this great volume called Sajjana Toshani, written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There are articles written about NOI, and I have derived much of my presentation from his work. And it's been, I personally benefited a lot by going through this work. So prajalpa, let's discuss about prajalpa. So prajalpa, jalpana as such is talk. So is all talk detrimental to devotional service? No. So jalpana can also be positive. Yeah. So when one speaks about the glories of the Lord, when one does kirtana, when one offers prayers to the Lord, yeah, or when one does japa, or when one preaches about the glories of the Lord, this type of jalpana is very much favorable for the process of devotional service. Yeah. And some people artificially observe something called mauna, being silent. So that is one level. Yeah. So mauna is at least better than talking nonsense, but higher than mauna or artificial silence is to utilize the power of speech or the jalpana in glorifying the Lord. So isn't this the instruction of Supreme Lord Krishna in the 10th chapter of the Gita? Yeah, mat chitta mad gata prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Yeah. So the thoughts of my devotee always dwell in me. Krishna is saying, mat chitta mat gata prana. And when the thoughts of a devotee dwell in Lord Krishna, what's the next thing to happen? Bodhayantas parasparam. That is, you start, and you go and teach about Krishna to others, and the others also who are like-minded, who are also devotees of Krishna, they talk about Krishna to you. Yeah, bodhayanta parasparam. And kathayantascha mam nityam. They're always speaking about my glories, yeah, about my pastimes. And in this way, they're tushyanticha, ramanticha. Yeah, they are satisfied and they're enjoying and they're relishing. So this is about the devotees of the Lord. So, kathayantascha mam nityam is also talk. right? It's talk. It talks about Krishna. But what is the result of such a talk? There is great pleasure to the heart. And these kind of talks are very much favorable to bhakti. Not just bhakti, they evoke feelings of devotion, which is actually very much aligned with the ultimate goal of achieving Krishna prema. So this is the jalpana. This is instruction of Krishna. In fact, that kathayantascha mam nityam satatam kirtayanto mam. That's another verse in which Krishna says that my devotees speak about. So this kind of talks is very much favorable for bhakti. So, and this jalpana is again another type. Another type of jalpana is the useless talk, which is detrimental for the path of devotion. And by careful analysis, one should analyze in one's own life how much of our time is getting invested into this kind of a prajalpa, which is actually taking us away from, from the shelter of Krishna, taking us away from the taste for Krishna bhakti. Such kind of a prajalpa can be very dangerous. And what are these useless talks? Let us take a look at them. Can you just show us the PPT? Shravya?
Yes, Mataji, 1 minute.
So other types of talk, as I said, is godless talks. Godless talks are impediments to devotional service. So this is kind of godless talks are the ones that are detrimental to devotion. So what are these godless talks? Next, they are useless talks, arguments, gossip, debates, fault finding in others, speaking falsehoods, blaspheming devotees, and worldly talk. These are 8 types of godless prajalpa. What are they? Useless talks, arguments, gossip, debates, fault finding in others, speaking falsehoods, blaspheming devotees, and worldly talk. So let us examine each of these. The first one is useless talk. So that's in the 9.14 of Gita, Lord Krishna says very clearly, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So what is this? Satatam kirtayanto mam. So always chanting my glories. So this is how devotees worship Lord Krishna. So then what is useless talk? The next slide. So if useless talk means that talk which is not related to Krishna, or which is like, opposing to the progress in Krishna consciousness. So, and especially these kind of talks happen with materialists who are not aware of the goal of life. And oftentimes, sometimes, for the matter of conversation, for the matter of communication, we do have a need to talk to the other materialists around us. That is fine. Some kind of an official communication or needful talks is okay. What we are talking about is useless talk. Please try to differentiate between these two. There is needful talk, which is understood, which is required for communication, for doing the needful in life. For example, if you're in your office, and for the purpose of doing some project work, you might have to interact with your colleagues, to understand how it is to be done, or when it is to be done, etc. That is fine. That's a needful talk. And what is useless talk? Spending days and nights talking uselessly with the materialists. In other words, the nectar of instruction 4, text 4, speaks about how one should associate with devotees. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyam akhyati prachati. Bhute bhojyate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshana. So by giving gifts and accepting gifts. Yeah, dadati prati grinati. Guhyam akhyati prachit. That means revealing your mind in confidence. And this should be done with devotees. Yeah. And when this is done with materialists who are not fixed in their goal of life, yeah, so that will take one away from the instruction of Krishna, that is always chanting my glories. Because such talk will never result in increasing one's taste for Krishna Katha. That is why these useless talks with materialists should be identified, yeah, and it should be checked. Yeah, so this is what is useless talk. It is extremely detrimental. Wrong usage of the power of our speech. Yeah, so one should be able to discriminate what is the needful talk and what is the useless talk. Okay, so the next one. The next one is about argument. Yeah, many a times if you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's there's so many episodes where there are arguments and debates. Yeah. So, for example, there's a whole conversation between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. And so if you see many days, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just hearing from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was speaking such eloquent philosophy on impersonalism. Yeah. So all the while, Mahaprabhu never spoke one word. Yeah, he was just hearing from him. Finally, he explained to him about the conclusions of bhakti. So this is what is all arguments of the followers of Nyaya and Vaisheshika. These are two darshanas of philosophy. They're simply godless quarrels. They do not yield any result other than wasting the mind's strength and increasing one's restlessness. There are some people, who are very enthusiastic to just get into arguments, especially when it comes to philosophy. And it just goes on and on and on and on with no conclusion. It's just a kind of some kind of itch of the intellect, that is for such people. Such kind of arguments which have no goal, yeah, only to pacify the itch of your intelligence. If you're doing it, then such kind of an argument is godless and it yields you nowhere, and it comes under prajalpa, that which is detrimental to devotion. But there are also arguments, yeah, which are put forth in order to establish one other siddhanta, establish the siddhanta of pure devotional principles. Such kind of arguments are very much favorable for bhakti. So what are these arguments that are favorable for bhakti? First thing is accepting the Vedic Dashamula instructions. What are these Dashamula instructions? There are like 10, Dasha means 10. Mula instructions means these are the root instructions of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Yeah, Mula means root. Dasha means 10. The 10, root instructions of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. There are 10. Like first is starting with Amnaya, that means the Vedic texts are the ultimate source of knowledge. There are 10 such. So understanding what are these 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, if one argues accordingly, then one's mind does not become tough and wicked. That means they discriminate. What is the purpose of my argument? It is to establish the message of Krishna. If that's my purpose, then the mind is in fact purified. Yeah, and of course, and also you're doing good to the person with whom you're arguing, and the mind does not become wicked. Yeah. So then, when it is when these deliberations are based on the Vedas, then that is no longer prajalpa. So this is very important. Yeah. Recently, I think, in fact, this kind of an argument is becoming much extinct in the modern day, but it has to be revived as a part of one's language learning. One should learn the art of argumentation. In fact, actually, it is a part of the syllabus. A part of writing is argumentative writing. Yeah, it is very important to know how to argue and why to argue. Yeah. So what kind of argument is favorable for bhakti? What kind of argument is detrimental for bhakti? One should understand. So if this argument is detrimental, then it makes the mind very tough. Yeah. Okay. So next one. Yeah, so discussions that are meant for establishing the relationship with the Lord are not prajalpa. Okay, and those that who simply conquer the assembly by useless arguments do not reach any conclusion. Okay, so I was speaking about the next slide. The next thing, the next kind of prajalpa or godless prajalpa is gossip. So gossip is something very, very famous, and especially in social circles, right? And especially if you take some newspapers, magazines, especially lifestyle magazines, are full of nothing but gossip. Yeah. So what is this gossip? How do you define gossip? Talking without reason about other people. Yeah. So you're talking about other people without any reason. So that is gossip. And this kind of a gossip is extremely adverse in devotional services. Yeah, some people have this natural habit. They always have to be talking about others, and especially sometimes when one wants to establish one's own reputation. But some people do that by pulling down others. How do you say that I am the best? By saying the others are, others are foolish. So that is what is establishing one's own reputation. You know what? That person is, not so good, mediocre. Yeah, tries hard but doesn't really make it. Yeah. So why are you speaking about so many people in so many different ways, pointing their limitations? Just so that this is desire for distinction. One has this urge to establish one's own reputation. So, and that's coming from envy. Yeah. So whenever a person is envious, if you see, most of this prajalpa is actually a manifestation of one's envy. It's an expression of one's envy. Yeah, and especially the envious people are accustomed to discuss others' character. Huh? So, they start speaking about how this person is, how bad this person is, or what this person is doing, how many limitations they have. Always speaking about the others. Why? The root is envy. And for the minds of such people, in their minds, the lotus feet of Lord Krishna never appears. So gossip is something very, very dangerous. Even at the mundane level, sometimes gossips can really cause so much of harm. There have been cases of, false gossips that are, especially these days in the modern day, when there is any news spreads like wildfire because of media. Sometimes gossip spreads like wildfire. And there have been instances where in some places, some girl, because of wrong gossip being spread about her in the media, she resorted to committing suicide. Yeah. So gossip can be so dangerous even at a mundane level. So one has to be really cautious not to involve oneself in gossip. Yeah. So, and especially this kind of a gossip, it chokes the bhakti lata. Yeah, it chokes the creeper of devotion. It doesn't grow. Sometimes we feel very much stuck in our devotional life. So we have to analyze within ourselves, what is going wrong? Where am I engaging my time? Are any of these prajalpas going on knowingly or unknowingly? Yeah, consciously or unconsciously. Very, very important. Yeah. That's when we actually progress or advance in our devotional life. Next. So, yeah. So, but in the other side of speaking about other people is that oftentimes we see great sages. They do quote. They do speak about others to drive home a lesson. Like, for example, the great sage Maitreya said, "Thus the king." When he was speaking about Maharaj Vena, he was a very sinful king. Yeah. So he was telling that the king who became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path became actually bereft of all good fortune. he could not accept the requests of the great sages, which sages put before him with great respect. And therefore he was condemned. So, if you see Maitreya Rishi, as a part of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's speaking, he's telling Vidura about King Vena. And he's telling him what kind of a bad king he was, what a sinful life he led, how much he deviated from the path. So this actually, if you say that, so Maitreya is also speaking about another person, and that too the bad qualities in another person. So is that also Prajalpa? I said, no, that is not Prajalpa, because he is telling about King Vena and his bad qualities to drive home a lesson, to instruct his audience. Yeah, and his purpose is to enlighten the listener in the path of bhakti. Yeah. So when such is the intention of the speaker, of the teacher especially, to drive home a lesson, if you are speaking about another person, then that does not come under prajalpa. Yeah. And but those who talk about others while influenced by simply devotion, influenced by envy, hatred, pride, or distinction, they are simply offenders at the feet of Bhakti Devi. So this is what is stated in the beautiful writing of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So what is important here is, when we are talking about others, if we have to talk about others, we need to understand what is our intention. That is, if we are in the position of a teacher. As a sadhaka, no question. Yeah, no question. There's no point. There's no need why we have to talk about others or quote another person. But as a teacher, yes, sometimes it is needed to drive home a lesson. So the intention is very, very important. Next. So this is about gossip. The next is debate. Okay, so debate arises only from a desire for conquest. It is extremely abominable. Actually, there is a beautiful pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where there has been a great debater who came and who was like going around the entire India, and he was defeating everybody in debate. Yeah. So this person also came to Vrindavan. So when he came to Vrindavan, he openly challenged Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. He said, "Oh, I heard both of you are great scholars. So, why don't you come and debate with me?" Then Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they said, "Oh, what do you want? You want to, victory over us? We will, give it to you in writing that you have won the debate." Why did Rupa Goswami say like that? Although he's so qualified, although they are so well read in Vedas, although they know the entirety of scriptures, in and out, still they just said, "Yeah, we will give it in writing that we have lost this debate." Why? Because they simply didn't want to waste their time with a materialistic person. So on the other hand, Jiva Goswami, when he heard that Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami gave it in writing that they have lost this debate, he went and challenged this person, this pandit, this scholar, "Yes, please come and debate with me." And, outrightly, he defeated that scholar and he sent him away from there within no time. So the news soon reached Rupa Goswami and Sanatana, and they said, Jiva, why did you do this? No, you're not eligible to live in Vrindavan. Leave Vrindavan and go away. So at that time, Jiva Goswami leaves Vrindavan because the instruction of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and he goes and performs so many austerities for a long time until he was called back. So these are the pure attitudes and the refined attitudes of great Vaishnavas. Yeah. So that's about debate. Yeah. The debate, which is like, if it is done only for a desire for conquest, that means to establish myself as the top person, such kind of a talk is abominable and it is detrimental. See, everything that we speak, every word that we speak has an effect on our consciousness. So one should be very careful about what one speaks. Yeah. A word that is spoken and an arrow that is released can never return back. And these words are, the roots of, so many karmic implications oftentimes. Yeah, they decide and they define our destiny. So that's why one should be very conscious of one's speech and what they utilize it for. Next. Next. Fault finding. Yeah. So one of this is a very, of all the things that I've spoken till now, this is most dangerous, and even more dangerous is coming next. So fault finding is something that, it really uproots, it really shakes our devotion, and it's such a bad habit. Yeah. So what is this fault finding? Such a beautiful definition Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us. It arises from imposing one's own bad habits on others. That is fault finding. Yeah. It is said that whenever you're fault finding, you're showing one finger, you're pointing one finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing at your own self. You're pointing out one fault at one person. Just look within yourself, you'll find 3. Yeah. And this should be given up in all respects. So, we have to remember this example of the bee and fly. Yeah. So the fly is something, it's a kind of a creature which looks for sores. It looks for something that is rotten. It is looking for something that is very, garbage. Even if there is a beautiful garden, which is full of fragrant flowers, and with amazing nectar that is dripping out of the sap of each of the flowers, the fly is not attracted to it. It finds a dustbin beside that garden, and in that dustbin also it looks for something that is rotting, a rotten fruit or a phlegm or some kind of a very base substance like that, and that's where it goes and sits. That's a fly. So fault finding is like that. A person is having a garden of beautiful qualities. Yeah. But the tendency of the mind is that it does not want to see all that. It wants to always look at that, that small garbage can that is lying outside the garden, those bad qualities, and go and sit on that and meditate upon that and spoil your mind just thinking about those bad qualities of them person. So that is fault finding. But what is bee-like mentality? The bee-like mentality is that it just goes and searches for the nectar. It's hovering around in different places. There is garbage here, garbage there, there is filth here. No, it's not worried about that. It's looking specifically for that beautiful flower, and it just goes and lands on it and just sucks that nectar. Yeah, this is an advanced devotee. There are so many faults. Yes, I don't care. What is the hope in this person? This is what Prabhupada has seen in the hippies of the West. Apparently, if you look at them, it's hopeless. Day in and day out, they're into drugs, regulative principles, you name it, they broke it. Yeah, even the parents have given up. There is no connection with the parents at all. The government has given up. Everybody have branded them as hopeless, and they themselves are rebels, head on a stick, not wanting to follow anybody. Apparently very hopeless. Nobody liked to be with them. Dangerous oftentimes because they're always half the time intoxicated. Yeah. In those people, Prabhupada found what is the hope. So apparently there was, it's hopeless. In them, Prabhupada has given them, the best, the highest of philosophy. In fact, Prabhupada called the hippies, they're sincere seekers of pleasure. Can you believe it? I mean, when I first heard this, I was like, apt. Yeah, hippies can be given so many terms, but what Prabhupada called them? Sincere seekers of pleasure. That means Prabhupada really looked at the divine soul within. Yeah, he looked at that nectar within, ignoring all the apparent faults. So that is, of course, that is a Mahatma. So one should be very much, in the conditioned state, to rise up to that level is a journey. But in the conditioned state, one should at least, the mind has a tendency to automatically find fault in others. But one should always remind oneself of the example of the needle and the sieve. The needle, the sieve went and told the needle, hey, look, you have one hole, because needle has one hole at the end. The sieve went and told, hey, you have a hole. But look at the sieve. Who is saying that? Sieve. Sieve means Jalida. Jalida has how many holes? Innumerable holes. So whenever you're pointing the fault at somebody, just look within yourself. You're a sieve. Yeah. So at the sadhaka stage, meditating on these examples, whenever the mind comes into this default status of fault finding, it should remind itself of these examples, and one should withdraw from meditating on that fault. See, one thing is finding a fault, another thing is meditating on that fault. Yeah, oftentimes in this contemplation only, all the bad happens. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. Dhyayato, contemplation. So, because of the Purva Vasanas, immediate fault finding, there might be a tendency, but one should not get into contemplation on those faults. That's where the fall down happens. Okay, so fault finding. This is another form of prajalpa. Next, speaking falsehood. Yeah, that's another form of useless talks. That means, opposite of truth. Yeah, like casual lies. All this comes under the speaking of falsehood. Next, we'll go to the next. Blasphemy of devotees. So this is the most detrimental to the path of bhakti. If you see, every morning when we chant the Nama Aparadhas, the first Nama Aparadha is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their life for propagating the holy names of the Lord, right? Isn't that the very first Nama Aparadha? So it's a source of great inauspiciousness. So all those credits we are earning by our practices, by our good work, by our services, everything is lost simply by doing this, blaspheming sadhus, especially those who have dedicated their lives for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. At no cost, should one indulge in blasphemy. Yeah. So that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur is written very strongly. If one wants to attain devotion to Lord Hari, then he should make a vow. Make a vow. What is it vow? In this life, I will never blaspheme sadhus. Yeah. Why? By blaspheming sadhus, all of one's virtues are destroyed. Whatever virtues we are cultivating by such serious practice, by putting in so much of conscious effort, it is not easy to progress on the path of bhakti. Bhakti is an affair of the heart. It's something to do with consciousness. Yeah, it's a very, very intense journey. Yeah, and all those beautiful gifts that we are receiving from Krishna, all the mercy that we are receiving by through Vaishnavas, by the grace of Sri Guru, they all can just be vanquished at once by blaspheming sadhus. So one should be very alert to protect oneself from sadhu ninda. Now, this sadhu ninda is also called hati mata aparadha, mad elephant offense. Yeah, it's just like you're cultivating a beautiful garden of devotion. Yeah, with all those tender creepers which have fragrant flowers. A garden, how much of care it takes to cultivate a garden. Yeah, carefully cultivated garden. And into that garden, when you're cultivating, which is so beautiful, there comes a mad elephant. Yeah. What is a mad elephant? Vaishnava Ninda. To such a beautiful kept garden, if mad elephant enters, you know what a mad elephant does? It just comes and destroys the entire field, the crops. You can ask some actually people, some farmers who are cultivating in the mountain areas, what happens when a mad elephants enter their fields. The kind of the destruction it causes is the whole crop is gone for that season. Yeah, if the mad elephant just enters their fields, it uproots everything, it tramples upon everything, the whole crop is destroyed. So that is what happens when we blaspheme a sadhu. It's like inviting a mad elephant into the field of our carefully nourished devotion. So one should protect oneself from this dangerous offense of blasphemy of devotees. Next. Yeah, and in fact, when Prajapati Daksha offends Mahadev, Lord Shiva, yeah. So there is a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that speaks about the consequences of offending great devotees. Yeah. Ayushriyam yasho dharmam lokanashisha evacha hanti shreyam sishtava sarvani umso mahat atikramaha. My dear king, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benedictions of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. Yeah, all his benedictions, that means all the benedictions one receives on the path of bhakti or on the path of their journey for a higher realms. Yeah, of especially benediction of longevity. Sometimes we get benedictions, right? Ayushman Bhava. Yeah, may you be happy, or you receive blessings for beauty, fame, religion, promotion to higher plans. All these benedictions will just be destroyed when a man persecutes great souls, when a person blasphemes great souls. So this is what happens. This is the what all come under Prajalpa. Yeah. So Prajalpa is useless talks, the gossips, arguments, debates, fault finding, and worst of all is blasphemy of devotees, sadhana. So these are the things one has to cautiously avoid. Yeah, because from the morning when we wake up until the night that we sleep, we keep on speaking something. We keep speaking to our friends, devotees, relatives, materialists, so much we talk. But one should be, if one is serious about their progress on the path of devotion, then one has to be very conscious of what one is speaking. So till now we heard about what one should not speak. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami is speaking some very beautiful verse about what one should speak. I'll just speak about this verse. Tadeva ramyam ruchiram navam navam tadeva shashvan manaso mahotsavam tadeva shloka navashoshanam rinam yaduttama shloka yashonudiyate. Translation. So the words describing the glories of the all-famous personality of Godhead are attractive, relishable, ruchiram, and ever fresh, navam navam. Indeed, such words are a perpetual festival, manasa mahotsavam for the mind. Yeah, that means what? Those words that are describing the glories of Lord Krishna are Manasa Mahotsavam. That means they are a perpetual festival for the mind. Yeah, and they dry up the ocean of misery. Yeah, Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, we say, right? So in this world of misery, where we are living in an ocean of misery, the glories of Lord Krishna can dry up the ocean of misery. So these are the talks one has to engage in. These are the talks one should hear. Yeah, these are the talks one should speak. Yeah, but on the other hand, words that do not describe the personality of Godhead, but instead deal with temporary matters, are simply false and useless. Yeah, they're false and useless. So we should be very, very careful where we are giving our oral reception. Yeah, where we are investing our time, where we are investing our energy, where we are investing our emotions, where we are investing our heart. Very important to analyze. So each of this instruction of the nectar of instruction, each word is so profound, so pregnant, so deep with meaning, yeah, and application. Just prajalpa, just imagine if you just take care of this one thing, how much purification of heart can happen, how much of advancement in bhakti can happen. Yeah. So these are the things. That is why it is said the advancement in bhakti is dependent on the attitude of the practitioner. And what is that attitude? Attitude is being eager, being enthusiastic to follow these principles, apply these principles in one life. Yeah, then what can be achieved in millions of lives can be finished in one lifetime. And one can go back to God. Yeah, that's the beauty. Yeah. So we will go to the next instruction after Prajalpa, Niyamagraha. It's the time. Okay, so we'll quickly finish. Niyamagraha means the injunctions of Vedic scriptures. Yeah. Agraha and Agraha, that is, those instructions which are the rules and regulations. Niyamas means basically rules and regulations. Unnecessary attachment to scriptural rules is Agraha. And rejection of scriptural rules, as being insubstantial is Agraha. These two are extreme applications of rules and regulations. One is, either being too attached to them, too extreme in their application, or the other extreme is rejecting them, especially the lower stage of sadhana bhakti. These two can be very, very detrimental to one's practice of bhakti. So basically, there are a lot of vidhi nishedhas. Yeah, vidhi means prescriptions and nishedhas means prohibitions on the path of bhakti. Yeah. So by carefully following what is prescribed and avoiding what is prohibited, one can smoothly travel on the path of bhakti and find oneself reaching the ultimate goal. Yeah, it's just the matter of being conscious, cautious. So what is vidhi? So whatever is enjoined as one's duty is prescribed. Yeah, and whatever is restricted is prohibited. So both kinds of rules are auspicious. Okay, so both vidhis and nishedhas. Like for example, what is one of the vidhi in our bhakti? Chant 16 rounds. Yeah, what is nishedha? That is, breaking the 4 regulative principles. Yeah, so this vidhi nishedhas are there for everything. In your varnashrama dharma, as you're practicing, there are vidhis, there are nishedhas. So both vidhis and nishedhas, that is both prescriptions and prohibitions, are both auspicious for one's progress on the path of bhakti. So basically this, next. So these niyamas or vidhi nishedhas are further divided into 2 categories. Those which are practiced in the conditional state and those which are practiced in the constitutional state. Okay. So what is, it's very sweet. What is the constitutional, in the constitutional stage, what are the vidhi nishedhas? Go back. So in the constitutional stage, what are the vidhi nishedhas? Constitutional means when a person is situated in their, in original constitutional position. Yeah, in the spiritual body, in the spiritual world. Yeah, there are only 2. There is one vidhi, one nishedha. What is a vidhi? What is prescribed is prema. What is nishedha is envy. Yeah, that is why in spiritual world, if you have envy, there is envy. That means if you have envy, there is no, there is envy board. Envy means no vacancy. So the only vidhi nishedha in your constitutional position, the prescribed is prema, what is prohibited is envy. And in conditional state, yes, there are different, I wouldn't go into the details of it. In the conditional state also, there are different vidhi nishedas according to the stage we are in. Yeah, at the stage of, at the level of karma kanda, there are vidhi nishedas. At the level of jnana kanda, there is vidhi nishedas. And at the level of bhakti, there are vidhi nishedas. So there are, at every level, there are vidhi nishedas. Yeah, so I wouldn't go into the details due to lack of time. We'll move to the next one. So one should practice the scriptural injunctions or the prohibitions and prescriptions according to one's level. And this should be done under guidance. So that's why I'm not getting into the details of it. Then the next concept is, prajalpa, niyamagraha, janasanga. So janasanga is also a very, very important aspect. Yeah. So in this particular work, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote about the glories of sadhu sangha and the dangers of asat sangha. So janasanga basically means association. Yeah, whom we should associate with and whom we should not associate with. Next. So devotees are, not ordinary people. Yeah, please, one should understand this very, very important concept. Devotees are not ordinary people. Somebody who has started chanting, even if they may be, very, very junior to you, even if they may be just in the 10th or 8th or 9th standard, they just started chanting. Don't think they are ordinary people. Yeah, one comes to the path of devotion and starts chanting after, lifetimes of, practices. Yeah, especially one is consistent in chanting. One should understand that this person has made all the advancement in the previous life, and that is how and why that person is now fixed up in chanting. Tesham antagatam papam janano punya karmana tedvanda moha vidmukta bhajante dridavrata. Yeah, tesham antagatam papam. Only those people who have, who are done with their sinful life can, with determination, engage in devotional service. So those who are chanting and engaging in bhakti, please understand that they are not ordinary lot. They are extraordinary people. And do not go by their age or looks or, their externals. No. Yeah. So once Srila Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and there were some very old, ladies who were widows, and old men who were literally trembling, and they were in rags. And somehow they were doing parikrama of Vrindavan, in tattered clothes and all of that. Prabhupada looked at them, and, Prabhupada's disciples were behind him. He said, these people were so advanced, so elevated, so highly situated as compared to a billionaire in the West, who has no who has no concept of God. So please never judge by externals. For a person who's chanting and who's fixed in bhakti, know them to have completed a lot of evolution, in their journey of life in past births. So, and to associate with them is so auspicious. It is said, even an outcast becomes completely pure by seeing, touching, conversing with, or living with Krishna's devotee for even a moment. Such is the power of association with the devotee. Don't take it for ordinary. The tragic thing is, after spending few years in Krishna consciousness, we take some things for granted. One of that is association of devotees. We think that is normal. Yeah, kachartham vismrite ratna. We mistake a diamond to be an ordinary piece of glass. Yeah, that mistake we generally tend to do with devotees. We tend to do with the holy name, with our books. That means, we develop that kind of a familiarity. But no, that is why we have to hear often. We should understand how special they are. Yeah, what is their position? Yeah. I remember many years ago, one devotee asked a question to one sannyasi, who is foreign bodied. How did you actually make so much advancement that you have given up everything just for Krishna? This great soul has answered that what Prabhupada has given me, is a diamond. So one day I just sat back and took a very careful look at the diamond that Prabhupada has placed in our hands. Yeah, from all directions, from all dimensions. I understood what it is. That's what prompted me to give up everything and dedicate my life for Krishna. Yes, sometimes it is really important to take your time to actually see what Krishna has given us, to see what Prabhupada has given us. Then if we really appreciate what has been given to us, we cannot control our gratitude. And that gratitude becomes an expression. And our life itself becomes a signature of such gratitude. When we truly appreciate what we have received in life. So one such thing is the association of devotees. Let us never take it for granted. Yeah, it is so glorious. On the other hand, what is asat sangha? Yeah, Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, asat sangha tyaga yahi Vaishnavacharya. How do you know who is a Vaishnava? One who consciously gives up the association of non-devotees. Yeah, that is the definition of a Vaishnava. Next one, next slide. Yeah. So, and scriptures state that without the association of Lord's devotees, without satsanga, Bhakti Devi does not manifest in the heart. Yeah. And Sangatyaga Vidurena Bhagavat Vimukhe Janaihi. One who desires to attain devotion to Krishna should carefully give up the association of worldly people, stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it is actually an art how to, give up the association of non-devotees, especially of worldly people. Yeah, by living in that's what is living in this world and not of this world. So we should sail in the boat. Yeah, we are in this material ocean. So for the boat to sail, it needs to be in the water, right? But one should be careful that this water does not come into the boat. So that's the art of sailing through the material ocean. Yeah, that's the art of being in this world and not of this world. Yeah, next slide. I'll quickly finish. Yeah, so association with sense enjoyers is harmful, but sense enjoyers is not merely an external activity. One has to develop the discrimination. We see this through the example of Pundarika Vidyanidhi. Srila Gadadhar Pandit, when he first saw Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was like living in opulence, wearing silken clothes and silken robes and costly couches, very, very opulent living. So seeing that, Gadadhar Pandit for a moment thought, what kind of a devotee is he? Mentally, he just thought he cannot be a devotee. So at that time, Mukunda Dutt, who came along with Gadadhar Pandit, he started narrating the pastime of Putana. How merciful is Krishna when, he, one who came to give him poisoned milk, he delivered her and gave the position of a nurse in the spiritual world. So when he was narrating this pastime, that particular verse from Bhagavatam, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he couldn't control, he just came out of his chair, he started rolling on the ground, showing all the symptoms of, ecstasy, ecstatic love of Godhead. That's when, Gadadhar Pandit immediately felt so ashamed. How could I mentally commit this offense? So one should not try to judge people on external basis. So it takes time, it takes experience to actually understand. See, but when our antenna is on to always seeking devotional qualities in others, then we connect to the devotion of others. If our antenna is always seeking fault in others, it will connect to that faults of others. So it's always depends on what we are trying to tune into. Okay, so this is Sangat. Sangatyaga. No, I'm sorry. Jana Sangascha. So the last aspect is Laulyam. Yeah, next. Yeah, Laulyam. So Laulyam has different meanings. It can mean restlessness, it can mean greed and desire. Yeah. So let's talk about first restlessness. So restlessness again is of two types. There is restlessness of the mind and restlessness of the intelligence. So what is restlessness of mind? Next slide. The restlessness of the mind means just like, being agitated by the senses. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, yeah, Vayu Navam Imam Bhasi. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water. Yeah, Vayu Navam. Yeah, Vayu is wind, Navam is boat. Yeah, just like the wind, a strong wind can sweep away the boat on the water. Even one of the roaming senses, which is compared to the wind, on which the mind focuses on, can carry away man's intelligence. Man's intelligence is compared to the boat. Yeah. So senses can be very, very dangerous. And the mind, which is carried away by the senses, is the restless mind. Next slide. So how can one regulate the laulya, which is in the form of the restless mind? One has to simply take shelter of Goddess Bhakti Devi. That means because of the uncontrolled senses, the mind is becoming restless. The same senses have to be engaged in the bhakti process. Like just we hear the verse, beautiful verse by Ambarish Maharaj, Savai Manah Krishna Padaramindayam Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane. Yeah. So by fixing the mind at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, the power of my speech in glorifying the Lord. Yeah, the sense of my smell in smelling the tulsi offered to the Lord, the eyes in seeing the beautiful deity forms of the Lord, the ears in hearing about the glories of the Lord. Yeah, these legs to walk to the temple of the Lord, these hands, to clean the temple of the Lord, this body to embrace the devotees of the Lord. This is how I want to engage every sense of mine. And when in this way, the senses are engaged in the process of bhakti, just like, some of you have, are utilizing your talents in, in devotional service. This is one of the way to curb the, regulate the laulyam, which is in the form of the restless mind. Yeah. So this is a constant endeavor. Higher than that is, to regulate the restlessness of the intelligence itself. Yeah, this is a very higher way of regulating the restless of the mind. That is by checking the restlessness of the intelligence. Yeah, because when the restlessness of intelligence is vanquished, the mind can regulate attachment and aversion by the strength of the intelligence. So now next question is, how do you check the restlessness of the intelligence? How to vanquish it? This is very subtle, and this happens at a very advanced level, but it is a gradual process as well. It is said that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that when a person is situated in the false ego, yeah, then the intelligence becomes material. Yeah. But when the same person is situated in the true ego of being the servant of Krishna, the intelligence becomes spiritual. So when that intelligence becomes spiritual, the restlessness of that intelligence is vanquished, and mind and senses become subordinate to such intelligence. So in this way, laulya is in the form of restlessness of mind, restlessness of intelligence can be checked. Yeah, it's a very very profound writing. I mean, I personally was very much nourished reading these articles of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how each of this concept of the nectar of instruction is so profound, so deep. Yeah. Laulyam is not just greed, it's also the restlessness of the mind, restlessness of the intelligence. Because it is because of this restlessness of the mind and intelligence that one develops greed for material objects. When this restlessness is curbed, the result is that we become very satisfied. For example, for a person who is satisfied in the bhakti, yeah, for them they don't have artificial hankerings. Yeah, so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is addressing the root of the word laulyam, greed. Yeah, in the form of restlessness of the mind and intelligence. As long as that restlessness is there, One hankers after material objects. One always looks around what is going to give me pleasure, what is going to give me happiness. But for a person who is situated in the self, for a person who is situated in the true ego of servant of Krishna, for such a person, mind and intelligence, senses, all are conquered. Yeah, that is what the holy name does. Yeah, Cheta Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Kritam. Yeah. So when this holy name enters the courtyard of my heart, all my senses are conquered. That's the effect of bhakti. Yeah, in terms of curing the disease of laulyam. The last slide, I'll end here. So another meaning of the word laulyam is greed. So greed means how do we then arrest this greed? So greed is directed to other objects. Then it can be applied in relation to Krishna. Yeah. Greed should be carefully engaged in the service of Krishna. So whatever greed we currently have for material objects, yeah, that greed we can develop for bhakti, for devotional service. So especially now Purushottam Mass and the Kartik Mass are coming. So apply the greed propensity in doing more bhakti. Then that greed actually is so positive. Yeah, you can end the presentation. So such a greed, where it is carefully directed and engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, then such greed can bring auspiciousness and it can bring great advancement on the path of bhakti. What kind of greed? Greed for advancement in bhakti. Laulyam. Tatram laulyam api ekamulyam. So Srila Rupa Goswami also says that there is one price that one can pay for advancement in devotional service. What is that price? Tatra laulyam. There also the word laulyam comes. Yeah, but that greed is what? Greed for advancement in Krishna consciousness. So if one has that greed, then for such a person, advancement is very fast. Yeah, and as I said, what a person may take millions of births. For a person who has that greed, one can finish off in one birth and attain perfection. Okay, so I will end the session here. So we have discussed about these amazing, wonderful concepts of those things that are detrimental on the path of devotional service. So when we are walking on a path, on a road, yeah, sometimes there can be thorns, pebbles, right? So if these thorns and pebbles are identified and removed, the journey becomes so smooth. Similarly, all these kind of qualities are impediments, obstacles on the path of devotion. What are those qualities? Atyahara, yeah, prayasa, prajalpa, niyamagraha, janasanga, laulyam. All these 6, shadbhir bhakti vinashyati. All these 6 things, they are detrimental, they destroy devotion. So one should identify these in one's life. One should slowly, gradually, do not be revolutionary, be evolutionary. Gradually, negate, try to curb, try to invest into the positive side. Yeah, like there is the negative side of laulyam, there is positive side of laulyam. There is negative prajalpa, there is positive prajalpa. Yeah, so gradually, from the negative, try to go into the positive zone of Krishnizing all these qualities, thereby making our journey on the path of devotion quicker, easier, and faster. Thank you all very much. I will end here. I will take one question if anybody has. Anybody has any questions? Hare Krishna. Okay, so nobody has any questions. We will end the session here. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Jyotsna. Yes, please tell me.
Like grade for advancement in bhakti is required, na Mataji. Even that grade could be cultivated in the association of devotees, because all these desires cultivated in the association. So what if association is not possible? Like
Okay.
for everyone, like association might not be.
Yes. Okay, good question. So, yeah. So Jyotsna brought out a very nice point, an important point, that even to develop this greed or laulyam for bhakti, one needs association of devotees. That's so true. So the question is, what if we do not have the association of devotees? So if we do not have the association of devotees, create the association of devotees. I'll tell you small things. Like, for example, we might have so many neighbors around us. We can just go to our neighbor and say, hey, can we read Bhagavad Gita together? We can take a book of Bhagavad Gita and sit with them and read for some time. So if you don't have association, create association. Okay, there is this Napoleon Bonaparte. I don't know if any of you know this great personality in history. Yeah, he's quite a big revolutionary. Yeah, he said, circumstances, what circumstances? I create the circumstances. I mean, he told that in a very dictatorial tone, but yes. So instead of blaming the circumstances, we can create positive circumstances. Yeah. So if we don't have the association, create the association. There are so many devotees like that who went to different places in the world and which are so full of atheists, non-devotees, yeah, but still they went there and they created big congregations. There's one Mataji in Dubai. I can give you this example. She went to Dubai because of transfer of her husband. She's a devotee. So she systematically, she took there was no association at all. So she took the telephone directory and she systematically marked all the phone numbers of the Indians that are present in that area. She called all of them personally and she invited them home for the satsang. And eventually it became such a powerful and massive congregation, very vibrant. Yeah. And her spiritual master, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, was so pleased. He personally went to visit her house program that she created in this way. So it is, if you do not have association, you should create the association. That's one thing. Yes. And of course, like whenever we have the opportunity, make best use of it. And if nothing is possible, what you're doing is also a very, very positive thing. That is, you're taking the opportunity to connect through the medium of internet. Yeah. If you're unable to get the physical association, take the online association. Yeah, but somehow be in association. Yeah. So do some revolutionary things like what this Mataji did of, cultivating, and, of course, Jyotsna, you're so well versed in philosophy and you're, you should be giving actually, you should start preaching. An association will automatically manifest. Yeah. Okay. I hope this could help you. Thank you all so much. I hope I could answer your question, Jyotsna.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, Ishika. Yes, thank you too for joining our sessions regularly. Yes, definitely. When as long as Ishika also wrote a very nice point that she keeps praying to Krishna. So whenever you feel, hopeless, whenever you feel anchorless, whenever you feel that Krishna, I really need association, then pray to Krishna. Somehow Krishna will bring you. He will give you that association. And he will give you that inspiration. He'll connect you to the right people. Yeah. And when he connects you, from our side, it's our responsibility to preserve that relationship, nourish that relationship. Yeah. And, in that way, whatever gifts Krishna is giving us, when we really treasure them and cherish them and build on them, Krishna will give you more. Yeah. Okay, very nice, whatever you have to Nishika. Nice to hear how you're practicing. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much. Got delayed.